Welcome to another episode of the Your Longevity Blueprint podcast. Today, my guest is Povilas Sabaliauskas, who is the co-founder and CEO of Pulsetto, one of the fastest growing wellness tech companies in the world. A leader in non-invasive neuromodulation, Pulsetto is redefining how we approach stress, sleep, and recovery through wearable vagus nerve stimulation backed by science and loved by high performers around the globe. With a background in tech and performance coaching, Povilas has become a passionate advocate for making cutting-edge wellness tools accessible to everyone, not just elite athletes or clinical patients. Under his leadership, Pulsetto has partnered with leading researchers, completed clinical trials, and grown to over 100,000 users across Europe and the US. Povilas brings a unique mix of business strategy, biohacking curiosity, and real-world stress recovery insights, making him a fresh voice in the growing world of neuromodulation and mental resilience. Coming to you today from Lithuania. Welcome to the show, Povilas.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this intro. It's really interesting to hear intro messages. It's quite overwhelming to get such huge praisals in some ways where you do not think you are. But thank you very much for kind words.
My listeners first heard me mention your device on episode 223 of the show, where I shared some biohacks that I've used this stressful year. I've now been using Pulsetto for about 2 months, only once a day, not twice a day, and I want to ask you about that. But I have
Yeah.
noticed a huge difference, just kind of lowering my level of calm and just kind of like takes me down a level. So I wanted to bring on an expert to share its benefits, and who better than you? So it's an honor to have you on the show today. So before we talk about Pulsetto, this device right here, and what it is, I want to ask you two things. So first, I want to start with your personal journey. So what led a biomedical engineer to create a consumer wellness device? Was there like a specific moment or challenge that sparked this mission? What's the story behind the company?
I can give you a quick
A short version.
short version of this, but in general, how I came to, let's say, biomedical engineering. Basically, I always wanted to do something with medicine, and one thing that I saw was the deep brain stimulators, which I do not know if you know this kind of technology, but this is for uh,
Like cranial
basically
nerve
for
stimulation? Like,
not
or
real.
no, no,
So
no.
you need to drill a hole, implant some electrodes for Parkinson's or
Oh, sure.
dystonia
Okay.
disease, etc. So I watched some, I don't know, YouTube or something clip when I was in high school, and I saw that you can apply some electricity to specific, let's say, place, and it feels like magic, looks like magic, because when the, let's say, Parkinson patient has the tremors on his let's say right hand or left hand,
Hmm.
and they apply a little bit of electricity, it diminishes those symptoms, and it was like eye-opening. Why is this not evolving faster, and etc. So I went to let's say, medical engineering school. I had my own previous business in manufacturing, actually, but my passion was basically work with some neuromodulation devices. And I had this opportunity to work in Lithuania because I was like a liaison in medical device, it's a medical neuromodulation device distribution, and also organ transplantation. So I had very interesting career in this field. But one thing happened, I was working with deep brain stimulators, vagus nerve stimulators, spinal cord stimulators, and my father became quite ill.
Mm.
And, I had a lot of, let's say, connections in this field, and, we did all the biomarkers, did all the tests on my father, and we could not find any, let's say, disease or any bad, let's say, biomarkers on which we can conclude something, what is happening with him, and he was degrading over time. So, I talked with neurologists, neuroscientists, and we came to a conclusion that maybe vagus nerve stimulation can help, but it was during that time only implantable ones. They were for drug-resistant epilepsy and drug-resistant depression. So, I was thinking, okay, if I cannot buy one or get implanted in one, why I
Make one.
cannot, let's say, make one? But during the R&D stages, basically my father passed away. I did not know the
Oh,
exact timeline. Usually you never
sorry to hear
know
that.
the
Yeah.
yeah. Basically, I put this project Pulsetto on a, let's say, in a shelf.
Hmm.
And during COVID, I found my co-founder Vitalius, whose wife was suffering from cluster headaches, and We had a lot of time. We talked, and I presented him my idea. I had like a small MVP version of our device. We tried it on her. One of the indication of vagus nerve stimulation is cluster headaches, migraines with our device, and we understood that we have something because it helped her, and we said, let's try to make this a reality to create a device which can help, with stress, anxiety. We had a lot of issues due to that. Building a hardware is hard. When we try to find the investors, we got a lot of no's, which is not very pleasant. But usually it's a, let's say, part of the startup journey. You get, I don't know, 1,000 no's until you find
Yeah,
the
well,
right match.
yep.
Yeah, you need just one. So we got the, let's say, initial funding to create the final MVP version from Kilo Health, a company which is, let's say, investors of ours. So we were not, I would say, believers, but we said, okay, we believe in people. They gave us a little bit of money to build the MVP version. We built it quite fast, and we said, okay, you're crazy enough that this might work. And we got initial, let's say, 500,000 for let's say, developing the device. But later we understood that this is way too less money to create a business. Due to that, we need to buy stock, materials, build a supply chain. And when we started, we went with the marketing in Indiegogo. This is similar to Kickstarter, where you can crowdfund your project and understand if it is needed or is it relevant for the market or no. So at that point, we started our campaign, and we understood that it's needed. Due to that, in 2 weeks, we gathered 200,000 euros in, let's say, funding. So we understood that we have something that is needed on the market. So, that was a beginning story of our sales. And we got some very good, let's say, customers on that side, which are currently in our, let's say, like a customer board from those days. So, 4 years ago, they're still with us, some of them. So it's a quite good story.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, so
Yeah.
second, for listeners who might be hearing about the vagus nerve for the first time, can you kind of paint a picture of what this nerve actually does in our body? So why are
Yeah.
researchers calling this the highway to health? Like, why is this so important for health and longevity and migraines, like you were mentioning?
Migraines is a little bit a different thing, maybe different mechanism of action, but in general, it's like a highway of information between your brain and in all your internal organs. And via vagus nerve, all the communication is happening. And if you have two states, fight or flight or rest and digest, so sympathetic or parasympathetic. So the stress is needed in your body. This is very relevant. You need daily stress, but some people cannot get out of stress. So what happens? Yeah, it's all more or less in your brain, but what happens if you cannot switch from fight to flight to rest and digest mode? You get, let's say, anxiety or even burnout. So we apply our device. I have a device here. We stimulate here with electrical field vagus nerve, because vagus nerve travels through the brain to all internal organs, and we stimulate it with electrical signal and activate those fibers which are activated when you are in relaxation state. So we trick your body into relaxing. That signal goes to the brain, and your brain says, "Okay, my body is trying to relax. I will generate a signal which, let's say, will reduce the heart rate, reduce the breathing rate, excrete acetylcholine in the spleen. So I will try to push the body into relaxation state and try to regenerate, recover, and everything in between." So why our solution is quite fast due to that. If you ever touched electrical wires, you know how quickly it travels through the body. So this is also, one of the good things about our device, that it's fast. Some people feel it instantly. Some people takes time due to, personal, let's say, habits, etc. But, this is like a quite quick solution to push your body into relaxation state.
Can it get patients out of panic attacks? Like if I
You
mean,
know, with
obviously
panic.
there are different settings on this one, which
Yeah,
I want to get to
yeah,
too. But like, I
yeah.
guess let me back up. So like, what's actually happening? Maybe you already answered this in someone's nervous system in this like 4 to 10 minute session. So
Mm,
it's literally you're saying it's sending this impulse to the brain to tell our
yeah.
body relax, rest and
To
digest. It's
relax. Yeah.
inducing. Okay.
So a lot of things are happening. So the exact mechanism of actions, there is still, let's say, some doubts. But when you're activating vagus nerve efferent fibers, which are going from the body to the brain, usually EEG patterns, so electrical patterns are, let's say, disrupted, which are usually linked to some depression or epileptic seizures, which are, let's say, like a traveling, like a storm around the brain. Also, blood flow in the brain is a little bit increased due to this is how it helps with migraines. So usually migraines are crossed with let's say contracting of blood flow, blood vessels in the brain. So there's a little bit different mechanism of action. So a lot of things are happening, but in general, it is cumulative results due to that you're activating those fibers, which are responsible for relaxation. The brain recalculates and sends that information to the internal organs. Those organs try to recover and they send the good signal to the brain. And it's like we push our body into a loop of relaxation. So, yeah.
Okay. So can this, I know there are different settings. I
Mm,
primarily only
yeah.
use the sleep setting because I use it before bed,
Mm,
but like the anxiety setting, can that get someone out of a panic attack? I mean, it's like I looked at it, it's only a 4 minute
yeah.
program. Can that, I mean, does it work that quick?
It can help, but
Can
due,
help
due
you.
due to that, people with anxiety attack usually, I do not know if we will be able to address the device on themselves, if we can put it. So that
Oh,
is the
sure. If
issue.
you're having a panic attack, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, I get it. Yeah.
yeah. So maybe someone next to you can apply this, but it's really hard to do this kind of even a trial on this kind of cases. But in general, I we have like a huge problem of our, let's say, users due to that. Not a lot of users can decide, do they have stress? Do they have anxiety? What is the difference? And, usually
All of
we
them. We
need
have
to
all of
also, yeah, we need to educate, this is what we're trying to do in application, how to differentiate. But in general, I would say, stress. Stress is quite clear. If you have stress and you can pinpoint the
them.
exact, let's say, thing which is causing you stress, you have stress. But if you have stress, but you cannot pinpoint one thing which is causing you stress, it's anxiety. It's already way deeper. So the
Sure.
program is a little bit more intense and longer duration. But in general, it can, let's say, push you out of the panic attack.
The
But I
fight or
do not know
flight.
if
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sure.
But it's really hard to, say due to that we do not have this kind of trial on,
Sure.
let's say, panic attacks. But, you know, the closest that we got, people are using before a stage, going to the stage, and some people are getting almost to panic attacks because they get stomach sick, they have
Yeah, yeah.
very high
Yep.
ventilation, breathing rate.
Yep.
So high performance athletes, people who have a lot of public speaking using our device before the going on stage and later ramping down due to that we cannot go to bed after some
Mhm.
performance and we just cannot go to
Because
sleep.
their cortisol's
So
all jacked up. Yeah, so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
lowering that. Yeah, fight or flight. Cool.
yeah.
So is stimulating the vagus nerve almost something that kind of like working a muscle or muscle memory, like something the more you stimulate it, the stronger it's going to be, or the better it's going to work? I mean, is that where like the routine and the twice a day recommendation comes
Mm.
from? Or
So I would say twice a day. It's a very good starting point, and we see good effects. You can use it even more due to that. Implantable devices usually work 5 minutes. Every 5 minutes, 30 seconds of stimulation, and we work
wow,
24/7.
wow,
Yeah,
I didn't
but
know
it's
that.
for way, let's say, more debilitating conditions like
Yeah,
drug-resistant epilepsy and drug-resistant depression. So. In general, I would say you can use it more, but you need to understand that, as you mentioned, you need to think of stress let's say, stress resilience or stress, you need to think it as going to the gym. If you are training, applying stress and lowering stress, it's building you a muscle,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you need to train it. And a lot of people also ask, okay, I do not have a lot of stressors anymore. Can I?
Well, lucky them.
Yeah, yeah. Can I stop using the Pulsetto? I said, of course you can. This is your, let's say, choice. But in general, you need to understand that what happens when you stop going to the gym. Usually you have 2-3 months of period where you feel amazing. Due to that, you do not apply the stress on your muscles. You feel very healthy. And in 3 months, you see, okay, I have additional 10 pounds of, let's say, body weight, and I cannot perform anymore in that stage. So you are going to the gym once again. So, everything is built on consistency, and
Mhm.
stress related things is not an exemption on this kind of cases. So, if you want to be stress resilient or quite good with dealing with a lot of stress, you need to apply a lot of stress in the morning and in the evening to try to calm down. But, some people are even waking up with stress. So for us, it's thing like this. How I use it myself. When I wake up in the morning due to high stress levels, usually I have like a already predefined things that I need to do that day. So apply Pulsetto, I stimulate for 4 to 6 minutes and go through all the lists that I need to
Mhm.
do and see if I made a decision correctly yesterday. So I reevaluate, I try to lower my stress, and later I push myself to the stress already. I try to tackle the biggest things in the morning, late, so that in let's say later stages I can have more not so, let's say, stress demanding or high intensity thinking tasks. So I try to push a lot of stress
Mhm.
in the morning, and in the evening try to lower the stress as much as possible. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm making you record a podcast late at night here.
It's not late at night. It's
Well, I thought it was like
yeah.
7:30 p.m. there or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's not
Not late. Yeah,
late,
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
yeah,
still at the end of your day. Yeah. So let me go
yeah,
back to this device. So you put the
yeah,
device, around like you had just showed the
yeah,
listeners, and then this
yeah,
syncs with your phone. So
yeah,
Bluetooth it to your phone, and then there are preset programs for stress,
yeah,
anxiety, burnout, sleep, whatnot.
yeah,
So when I first started using this, and I am more of an anxious, higher wired person,
yeah,
I was almost anxious from the stimulation because I wasn't used to that, like the tickle,
yeah,
whatnot, which I've
yeah.
gotten used to. But I think initially it almost worsened anxiety because I thought, whoa, this is weird. So is it just something that people have to get used to? And I guess the second follow-up question part of that is I can't ramp up the intensity. Does that mean it's not as effective if I just keep my intensity at like between 1 and 3? Is that acceptable? I mean, it goes up to 10. I could never do that. Like I'm not getting there.
So, first question is yeah, we have 5 programs, and what you need to do. You need to apply a little bit of gel. Due
Yes.
to that, you need a conductivity. You can connect to application. We can talk about the application, how every person can check their own data, which is for us, it is very relevant, due to that, clinical trials is one thing, but, how to know if it works on you, this is other thing. So, about the intensity, you need to understand it like this. The more intensity doesn't mean that you are getting better effect.
Good. Okay.
If there is a signal, there is a signal. The more energy you push it, the better effect you will not get. So usually it's all good.
It's still effective at a lower intensity. That's what I
It's
wanted to
still
hear. Okay.
effective. Yeah, it's still effective. Maybe it can be that the effectiveness can start not from the first minute, but from 1 minute and 30 to something like this. So maybe a little bit longer duration, but effectiveness it still be present.
Good.
Yeah, there are some people who so the intensity is developed this way, so you can increase the intensity and see if you have a lip pull in the mirror, or you can feel it physically, and it feels that you are. It shows you that you are stimulating in the right place. And you can lower the intensity, but there are, let's say, professional athletes who usually try to, I don't know, endure the stimulation even on higher levels. And I say this is just cross-check it if you're in the right place. Or maybe you have, let's say, a very thick neck and you need to apply a little bit more, let's say,
Sure.
stimulation. But some people just try, like the intensity, some people don't, but in general, it should not be, let's say, like a huge game changer if you apply a little bit more stimulation parameters. Yeah, it still
Awesome.
works
Sure,
in
sure.
lower levels. Yeah.
Good. I'm happy to hear that. Okay, so
Yeah.
what's the difference between this sort of like electrical
Mm.
stimulation on the vagus nerve and then like activating vagus nerve from cold exposure or breath work or something else? Like, can this replace those or is it an adjunct to those? Have they been studied in comparison? Like, go there for me.
Well, naturally, you can activate vagus nerve. Humming, singing, breath work, meditation, cold showers. What
But like,
else?
let's start with humming.
Rigorous.
How much do you really have to hum, to
There is
stimulate
no
that
data
vagus?
on this,
Okay.
but in general, I would say maybe 20, 30 minutes to
Okay.
have something like this. So, the vocal cords are vibrating and it's next to vagus nerve, so
Hmm.
it has some effect. In general, I would say if you like to hum, it's good. For us, you know, I would say I'm quite structured and I like to do breath work, but still I have like two, three, maximum 3 days a week where I can do a breath work. It takes dedicated time and usually it takes around 10 minutes to do it. And you need to, I don't know,
Hmm.
sit in one place and do this kind of things. So for us, I would say it's
This
a
is
little
more
bit like a
convenient. Yeah.
shortcut.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
A
more
biohack, a
convenient.
shortcut. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but and not all things are, let's say, for everyone. If you cannot do breath work, and I would say you will never get used to it. And I would say, okay, try to use Pulsetto and see how it works on you. Because, I like myself cold showers, but I do not have a lot of time to also, apply ice to the bathtub and etc. And it takes a lot of time. So this is 4 minutes as you can reach, I don't know, in 20, 30 minutes of meditation. But,
Hmm.
for meditation, you need to build a meditation habit. You need to know how to meditate. You need to, I don't know, maybe go to a course or etc. And it takes a lot of time. But in general, I would say if you can meditate, it can be additional thing. And all those things are working. But usually, I would say 99% are not sticking with them due to that they require a lot of willpower.
Hmm. Commitment.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
if I would ask, I don't know, on the street. Everyone would say how to live a perfect life. You do not need to stress. You need to sleep good. You have to exercise and eat, let's say, like a uh, well-versed food, and also like have a community. Everyone knows this,
Hmm.
but how many people are doing this? It's a fraction of 1%, I would say.
Yep. Yep. That's a good
Mm.
transition too. I've heard you call this a digital toothbrush for mental
Yep.
well-being. So do you
Yep.
feel like this is just an easy 5 to 10 minute thing we should all be doing every day? Just incorporating that.
Yeah, and
Right.
this is the biggest thing due to that. A lot of people understand the concept. When you are eating junk food, you are, let's say, poisoning your body.
Hmm.
When you are consuming social media, you're you're basically poisoning your brain due to that.
Hmm.
Quick reactions, dopamine hits, and etc. It's like a junk food, and for your brain and for us, we try to push your body into let's say equilibrium, and you need like a mental toothbrush. And I would say this will be, I don't know, a trend of let's say mental well-being and social media consequences in a later stage. But a lot of people do not relate these kind of things, that when you're sitting on a TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, if you are just scrolling, it's not very healthy. But
Hmm.
maybe data, let's say in 5 years, will show you how unhealthy it is, and people will start to take this more seriously and have like a dedicated time, for junk. But still, you need to do some, I don't know, well-being methods,
Hmm.
like Pulsetto to counterbalance these kind of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, well said. Okay. Are there different models of the Pulsetto? I think when I bought mine, I
Yeah.
maybe there was only one. I don't know, but are there multiple models? Do you want to break those
Yeah,
down?
so this is a newer one. We can talk later about this, but
Sure, sure.
the hugest thing is okay, but batteries and programs were improved, color changes, but we have this kind of paddings due to,
Removable?
you
Okay,
know,
yeah.
yeah, removable paddings. So it should fit, one device for all family. You can apply different padding sizes, and so it could have like a firm connection to your skin for better, uh, usability, and it's way more comfortable stimulating when lying down, the newer model.
Hmm. Yeah, I have not used it lying
Yeah,
down yet. Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Let's go back to kind of my demographic for most of my listeners. So many of my
Mm,
midlife listeners are dealing with kind of the perfect storm, hormonal shifts, increased stress, the feeling that their body isn't responding like it used
mm.
to. So how can specifically vagus nerve stimulation address the intersection of kind of stress and then hormone health?
Stress usually affects a lot of things, from hormonal to
Mhm,
everything in balance,
mhm,
aura. And this is what I wanted to say about, our application. So, we have trials done which shows very good results. But usually, and I have the same, let's say, question usually when I buy something new, and I say, how it is affecting my body. So what we did, you can connect wearable devices like Oura Ring, Apple Watch, Whoop Strap, or any other device to our
mhm,
application, push the data into it, and we can map where are you basically stimulated, and see if you have, let's say, like heart rate variability
mhm,
baseline, we can increase it. We can decrease resting heart rate. We can increase your, let's say, sleep score, but not prolong the duration of sleeping time. So basically, we can provide better REM sleep,
mhm,
deep sleep, and less awake time when you're moving in bed, basically. So, that is, let's say, like our promise to a customer. So we can provide you with the data on your own
mhm,
data. And, if you see the changes, and you see the stress levels are lowering, and usually you will have better, let's say, hormonal balance, less stress means better sleep,
mhm.
and, everything in between. So, let's say start to tackle the elephant in a small chunks, and, stress is one of the key ones, which are usually related to this kind of working habits, Slack, messengers, which are constantly like a source of stress.
I always say stress is our biggest hormone hijacker. So it would be really interesting to
Yeah,
do a trial on, for instance, a patient's progesterone level and 2 months prior to using this device and then
yeah,
repeating it just to see if the progesterone, for instance, right, that calming, soothing hormone has improved after using one of these, vagal nerve stimulators. That would be interesting to me. But I think that's definitely the connection. If we're lowering stress, we should be, in theory, improving hormone production,
yeah,
which should translate into sleep and mood and, feelings of
yeah.
well-being and skin health and everything. So
But
awesome.
we did like a trial, which is for me, it was very interesting due to what we measured, let's say, some stress scale, anxiety scale, sleep scores, but we took hair samples, and here is basically like data
In the past
of
90
your
days or
own,
something? Yeah.
not past 90 days, but we took a hair sample. We checked the cortisol and cortisone levels.
Hmm.
And after 30 days, we took another hair sample, and we saw that we managed to reduce quite significantly by 40% of cortisol and
Yeah.
cortisone.
Yeah, it looks like 40
So,
to 50%. I was just looking at that study.
yeah,
Yeah, that's huge.
yeah. So,
50%? That's huge. 40 to 50%.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you need to do it consistently. This is one of the biggest
Yeah.
thing, with
Not everybody
medication, it's
gets
the
those
easiest
results.
way.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah,
yeah. Yep.
yeah.
You kind of already mentioned sleep, but I do want to talk about sleep and
Mm,
recovery. So we talked a little bit about hormones. So a lot of our listeners are dealing with sleep issues, and we know sleep can be a longevity multiplier. We have to sleep to survive. So specifically, I was going to ask how is Pulsetto helping sleep? But I think you already mentioned, I mean, it's going to increase our sleep score. So is that
Yeah.
because it's increasing sleep efficiency? Like, is it helping deepen REM sleep, or what is it doing
Yeah.
for sleep?
So basically, what we saw from our user data, and we gathering more and more data on the side, that basically we cannot increase duration in the bed at this point, but we can decrease the sleep latency, so you fall asleep faster,
Hmm.
which is also quite important, and we can increase the sleep score. So we reduce the awake time, and the awake time is considered when you're moving in bed, when you're, let's say, I don't know, usually you have a lot of awake time at night, but you do not remember about this. And uh, one thing that we saw from our users and other, let's say, companies that, okay, you do not have any trackable devices on you, but one thing happens that a lot of our customers see that they get very vivid dreams on the first day of stimulation if they use it before going to bed. And we talk with scientists, and they do not know what is happening actually, but somehow we push the last stage of your sleep to REM sleep, where you can remember your dreams. And we are trying to do we are waiting for a grant to do this kind of study to see what happens in your brain, why you can
Hmm.
remember, let's say, uh, some dreams when you're stimulating vagus nerve. But
Yeah, that
it's
is
a
interesting. Yeah.
good and bad thing. Due to that, some customers said, "Okay, I had
I don't want to remember my
nightmares."
dream.
No, but they said, I got nightmares," and we can ask,
Yeah.
counter questions. Did you had, let's say, any spicy food, or have you drank alcohol
Alcohol.
or
Yeah.
ate, let's say, I
Yeah.
don't know, junk food? And usually they say yes. So this is kind of you can say, if I can remember my dreams, I want to make it more, let's say, positive
Pleasant.
ones, so
Pleasant. Yeah. Yeah.
pleasant ones, and I need to think what I eat before go
Hmm.
to bed, or what I do before going to bed. Yeah.
Yeah. Good points. Okay.
Hmm.
What about recovery? You've talked a little bit about athletes here. So how can micro moments of calm kind of change our biology, help us with recovery? Like what's the application for athletes? So they're using, well, actually you kind of said that earlier. It's helping lower the cortisol that's high
Yeah.
after an intense workout. Is that the connection, or what else is it doing for recovery?
So we so athletes are using for several cases. So let's say track and field people, they are using. We have like a 3 days of let's say competition. So some of them get very overhyped and we cannot perform very well. So they try to use it before going to the start, let's say, line,
Hmm?
to lower it and to control that tunnel vision which is needed, because some of them gets overhyped and they cannot perform. And what happens after this? Some people cannot go to bed, cannot go to sleep, and next day you still need to go to, let's say, semifinals or finals, and we cannot recover quite well. So we use it to wind down, and this is one of the key things that uh, they are seeing, that we can fall asleep better. So usually the performance will not dip down the next
Sure.
day. Yeah, but we are also have let's say data that in general that vagus nerve stimulation can improve the, let's say, training procedures, that you can increase, let's say, like your brain plasticity for a small amount of time. And we are trying to even train, let's say, do vagus nerve stimulation before training to acquire skills faster. But this is, let's say, what we are trying to gather more data. Let's say there are some data in military application with this, but for performance athletes, we're just gathering this kind of data. Is there some merit to this? But it should be.
Sure. Let's stay on the
Mhm.
clinical trials for a second here. So,
Mm,
can you walk us through, because you already mentioned sleep improvement,
mm,
cortisol reduction, cortisone
mm.
reduction. What are some of the other clinical trials kind of showing us? Like what highlights are important for everyday users? Like what are we finding other than, or have we
So,
already mentioned it all? Is there anything else we didn't?
we
What about
have
depression?
a lot of data. Depression is very hard to, let's say, quantify. right now. Due to that, we do not want to go to depression. Due to that, it's, in my opinion, it's quite hard sometimes to decide is it what kind of depression it is. So depression has also like a qualification in itself. But what is interesting for me, it's let's say pre-hypertension, lowering systolic blood pressure. So
Yeah.
we got a little bit of data on this that we can control this kind of thing, but we need to expand and do a, let's say, like a larger clinical trial. But we have a little bit data that we can decrease blood pressure. But what I want to check, and this is more from athletes, that we said that we can manage their insulin spikes, so we can delay them. And this is quite interesting for us. We're
Yeah.
trying to gather some information and do also like a clinical trial on this kind of side. So yeah, this is quite interesting. And what we did not mention that we had like a Bechter's disease, which is like rheumatoid arthritis. We reduced the joint stiffness for them from 3 hours to 1.5 hours in the morning. So we say that we can, let's say, decrease the inflammation, but
Sure.
we're also trying to somehow build a trial which can be replicated to day-to-day
Mm.
person, but with, let's say, inflammation biomarkers, it's quite hard at this moment. So, for us, it's a little
Yeah.
bit like a drawback due to that. We can say, okay, we can reduce the inflammation, and the day-to-day person can say how I can measure. Okay, if you have like a psoriasis, maybe you can somehow measure the rashes or etc. But if you have inflammation in, let's say, lower intestine, how you can measure it?
Measure. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
hard.
little
Yeah.
bit hard. Yeah,
Sure. Okay. So you've grown to over 100,000 users. Any
yeah.
interesting patterns you're seeing in the demographics? Like who's using this, and also at what age can someone start using this device?
So at age, basically, which you can consent on your own decision. So it depends on the country usually. But I would say from 18, you can start using it without any restrictions. But I would say our user base is from 34 to 57, and the male to female ratio is quite, 50-50. Due to that, I would say when you're in the early 30s, you start to think, okay, how am I feeling and what I need to do to feel better? Due to that, I'm not, let's say when you're in 20s, you understand, okay, I can do anything and next day I can feel exactly the same. But yeah, this is the demographics, and I would say, people who have families, children, usually they have additional layer of, let's say, stress or everything in between. And we had some, let's say, like cases which good customer cases which are, let's say, saying to us due to that. One mother told me that she does not have any road rage anymore when she was using a Pulsetto,
Oh,
and
that's good. Yeah.
yeah, and she's living, I think, in Los Angeles, and she said, I do not have road rage, and usually I am stuck in traffic for 1.5 hours,
Yeah. No, thank you.
and
Yeah.
she said that, but the biggest thing was that her children do not think that she's crazy. Due to that, when you're shouting on everything around you,
That's a
your
plus.
your
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
children are saying, "Okay, this is maybe not very healthy." But now she said that I have better relationship with the children due to that I'm not overreacting to some minor things, and we understood that. Okay, your stress maybe is impacting, your family's or let's say well-being as well. Yeah.
What do you think the biggest mistake is that new users make with this? I mean, I'm guessing they're not using it most more as consistently as they're supposed to, but
Yep.
what would you say that answer is?
I would say, yeah, the consistency usually, and we're trying to make it as simple as possible to start with stimulation. So for us, we can we see some patterns. Okay, just try 7 days, 2 times a day to
Mhm.
stimulate, and usually people start getting, let's say, significant improvements. And when you see it on your own data, usually you use it more. So, the one good thing that I saw with neuromodulation compared to, let's say, pharmaceutical things, that with pharmaceuticals, you have like a honeymoon period when you have very good effect and later it, let's say, plateaus and you need to switch the medication or etc. With neuromodulation, with deep brain stimulators, spinal cord stimulators, or vagus nerve stimulation, you do not have this kind. If it works, it works. And the consistency is basically the key. With implantable devices, you do not have any, let's say, possibility to not adhere to the therapy because it's implanted and it's just working. With external,
Yeah,
you
good
need
to know.
to basically apply it on yourself, and you are the let's say the thing which is basically controlling how much it has effect on you.
Yeah, good to know. Okay, who should not use this device? Like, what are the major contraindications for use?
So implanted, let's say some spinal parts with metallic components, pacemakers. I would also would, let's say, suggest not to use it due to that, you can interfere maybe with a signal. There is no data on this, but, just to be on the safer side, that any active implantable device in a head or thoracic region should not
Mhm.
use our device.
Because a lot of people have that
And
Inspire for CPAP, that newer implantable device. So it sounds like that would be a contraindication too.
I would say, yeah, due to that, maybe do not use it due to that. I do not want to,
Impact
maybe
someone's
I will need to
breathing.
talk with, yeah, impact someone's breathing, but maybe we can talk with Inspire and check how we
Yeah,
can work together. But yeah, this is a good point. But other thing is, I don't know, maybe if you have, let's say, like a allergic reaction to the gel is it's a medical grade gel.
sure.
Usually you can read everything about it, but it might be that you have some allergic reaction to it. But people who have an allergic reaction to this, we have like a 0.001%. We
Sure.
use like aloe vera with salt, and this is also good for conductivity, but maybe this is the biggest thing. But one
What
thing
kind
that
of,
you can always do, you can
yeah,
always remove a device, and usually all the, let's say, unpleasant effects are
sure.
already, let's say,
What kind of metal is
removed.
this?
This is stainless steel,
Stainless
so
steel. Okay,
yeah,
good,
due to
good.
that, we want to be on let's say it's a medical stainless steel.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
You mentioned some military applications, and I think you
Mm.
recently received some funding for maybe military or first
Mhm.
responder applications. So how do you make the leap from kind of wellness consumers to high stress, these professional environments?
So we are doing this kind of trials with, let's say, ex-military personnel to check, and we have some good results for TBI, so traumatic brain
Mm,
injury, and PTSD.
PTSD.
But we see, the best thing that we saw on our data that if you combine the vagus nerve stimulation, let's say with some therapeutic things, it has way better effects on PTSD. So we're currently trying to understand how we can apply without any physician. Due to that, it's a little bit different condition, but we're on the way, and right now we're just trying to let's say, finalize a study on this side, how we can basically reduce the PTSD and TBI symptoms.
Yeah. Well, we
So
know.
for us, it's like a
Yeah, yeah,
military application, but it's like it's for military personnel, and we have like
yeah, yeah.
uh, I don't know, close communities on the side. Yeah.
Well, I see a lot of patients who have had just trauma in general who have PTSD. So I can definitely see, I mean, we have a hormone replacement therapy clinic, functional medicine, integrated
Mm,
medicine, and we
mm,
know improving hormones helps PSD because it helps that threshold for stress. So I can see how if this is impacting hormones,
mm.
lowering cortisol, raising hormones, it could help
Yeah.
with PTSD. So yeah, that makes total sense. Okay, so beyond amazing tech, what are some of your other personal non-negotiables for long-term health and resilience?
For me, for me, one thing that I have like a pillar of my own, so it's a training. Usually, I try to have rigorous exercises, so high intensity training. Due to that, if I'm, let's say, I don't know, in burnout mode, I do stress and try to push my body through it. And usually, after high intensity training, I go to relaxation state. But completely blacked out room before going to bed. This is also helping me a lot. And I see that my sleep score improved dramatically on this kind of
Hmm.
thing. Try to lower the temperature and completely black out room. This is one of two things that I implemented, and I'm very happy. My wife is also quite happy due to that. We have better sleeping stages right now. Yeah. So, one thing that we cannot remove from the bedroom is the dog, which is usually walking or
I
searching
know
for a
ours
place.
too,
But
jumping
yeah,
up and down and on and
yeah,
off, and yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So this is maybe like a problem, but it's also like a good thing to have. So yeah,
Speaking of
these two
dog,
things. Yeah.
speaking of dogs, I mean, has this been used on animals?
No,
No.
due to that, it's a variation of sizes is quite big,
Yeah, yeah.
and the other thing is that the hair on dog,
Oh
we do not know
yeah.
how much gel we need to apply, and this can be like a
Yeah, that'd
very
be
huge problem to wash your dog
clean off.
every, I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So this is
Okay.
the biggest problem. Yeah.
This has been great information. Last couple questions as we wrap up the show here. So, where do you see the future of stress recovery and mental wellness heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think more therapies, more data-driven decisions. In my opinion, the AI is on this kind of things is very good due to that. When you get more data on yourself, you can always check what is working for you, what is not. And this is my opinion, where the biggest, let's say, consumer tech will go, and you will see, okay, how much alcohol is degrading my performance, what I need to do, what is my window of consumption of, let's say, coffee, and these kind of small details, when I need to wind down,
Mhm.
uh, when I need to train, let's say, how my central nervous system is, let's say, performing. And these small things can be a huge asset. It's already in some applications, but it will come to the more, let's say, user-friendly format, some notifications. Okay, this is, what are you doing today? You're in work, you have very high stress levels, you need to change something. I don't know, more fresh air, or etc. And I think the data-driven decisions will impact us drastically and can reduce quite a lot of stress, anxiety, and improve sleep.
Sure. Can you
Mm.
overdo this or not? Since you're saying implanted devices are going off every 5 minutes, like, can you overdo this? Can someone use it 5 times a day, 10 times a day?
You can do this if you stimulate your vagus nerve around 12 hours a day. So with our device, it's impossible.
Yeah,
But in general, with our device, you can use it. I don't know. There are some people
several
who
times a
use it
day.
for
Sure.
3, 4 hours.
Wow.
With different conditions, stressful days. Traveling a lot. So yeah.
Very cool. Okay,
Mm.
we've given us a lot to think about today. Is there anything else you want to share that we didn't get to yet?
I don't know. I think we just shared a lot of information, and in my opinion, the best thing is, let's say, we have our device. You can try it. If it does not work, you can always return it. No questions asked. So that is a key thing. If you are not unsure, you can always try it and check it if it works. And whenever it works for us, it's like a good way to enter into your, let's say, household. Usually, when we see, let's say, some person is buying a device, we get a good, let's say, customer review, and I see that same surname is buying, and I know that we talked internally in the family, and it's free marketing for us, you know.
Sure. I hesitated. I was thinking of asking this question earlier.
Mm,
I'm going to come back
mm,
to it. I can always edit it out. But how do you feel your device compares to the other vagus nerve stimulation devices on the market? Like you can just Google,
mm.
comparison of different,
Yeah.
devices, and that's what I did. And I thought, well, Pulsetto is looks like outperforming all the rest. But are there any just key highlights to maybe a listener who's already looked into some other devices? They're trying to figure out which one to purchase. Sell us on why
Yeah.
yours is the best.
So, I would say customer promise that we can show the data on your own data. We can show you how you are, let's say, performing. Second is hands-free. You can apply this and do I don't know, email readings, brew
Mhm.
coffee in the morning, or etc. Bilateral stimulation. So we are the only one device on the market which stimulates from both sides, the vagus nerve, because the vagus nerve has two branches, both goes, in your neck. So it's way more efficient. And I would say the price point is that we are very, let's say, compatible. We are
Competitive or
most affordable, and we are most user experience driven. So I would say every technology has two things. It needs to work, and needs to be easy to use. So for us, we are starting from, is it easy to use? If yes, later you will check if it is working or not. So I would say these two things are core things that we can deliver. And all our devices, I don't know, you can try them and you will see the difference. Why are we we are better? Why are we overperforming against them? Due to that, we give a very good value proposition to our customers.
wonderful. Okay, tell us, where can listeners find you and your company?
So you can find us in pulsetto.tech website, where you can find all the information. If you have any personal question, you can always find me on LinkedIn. You can just write my first name and surname and Pulsetto, and you can always find me, ask me a personal question. This is also good, interesting, and I'm always eager to hear user stories. Due to that, we're trying to see what is needed from our customers. We're trying to, let's say, tackle every month one problem that our customer is having, and trying to, let's say,
Mhm.
provide this kind of solutions in the applications, try to provide some more data or some insights which is needed. So we're consumer-centric company, and sometimes I say we are sexy science. We provide easy, accessible working technology for day-to-day person who is interested but does not have a lot of time or dedicated time to research how it is working. So you can apply, see if it is working. So you do not have a lot of question if it works.
Perfect. All right.
Mm.
What is your top longevity tip?
Yeah, so I mentioned it before that blackout curtains. It's a wonderful thing to have, and it's quite cheap, quite affordable,
Mhm.
and you can see the difference from the first day you are using it. So that is my quickest hack, how you can improve your sleep. This is a quickest thing that you can do.
Many of my guests have said improved sleep, but not many have said blackout curtains. So that was good. Good tip.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been incredibly enlightening,
Mm.
Povilas. As someone who's experienced the benefits of Pulsetto firsthand, it's been wonderful to understand the why behind what Pulsetto does. So thanks for taking the time to educate us and for the important work you're doing to help people reclaim their health in our increasingly stressful world. This was great. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me, and it was a pleasure, and I hope we will need to talk once again when we have more data, more, let's say, features which can be, applicable to day-to-day users. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much.